The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us. Share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story. This is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio on AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you for joining us on this Monday. We're heading towards Christmas. It's getting close to that time of year. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to kind of just get right to it tonight because one of the things that has been happening, and there's been a lot of, I guess, conversation, headspace given, a lot of information that we don't have answers to regarding unidentified things happening around us. There is a lot of we've had some congressional hearings about UAPs again. We've had the biggest thing. If you watched our show on Friday, we were really happy with that because we spent the entire hour talking about what we knew and what our listeners knew about those drones. And if you have a chance, go to Spotify or go to am950radio.com, ghostboxradio.com, and you can listen to that episode. Go to GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook. Watch the episode because one of our listeners sent in some video that they had just recently had taken of these drones in the sky. It's very interesting. There's a lot of speculation. A lot of people are weighing in, and it's one of those things. As I said on Friday, I want to be very careful and very clear that we don't create some kind of like War of the Worlds scenario where people are getting ahead of themselves here and starting to panic and stuff. But it is worth it's worth asking the question of what's going on around here. And so please go check out that episode Friday. Just by happenstance and sheer good luck, I had asked my friend Tom Conwell, author, has written many books, and when you're looking for him to get his books, it's going to be under Thomas W. Conwell, and go to Amazon and you'll see some amazing books that you can get about the subject. Well worth talking about. We talked with Tom last year in 2023. It's been a long time about his part in the book, The Night Visitants, that he co-wrote with Anna Maria Manalo. There are books that he has written himself that you need to check out. And today we have a lot of questions that I do not expect Tom to answer. Like, need to have like the complete understanding of some of it, but Tom is going to be able to give us, if not answers, he's going to be able to give us a very good point of view of what's going on. Tom, thank you. Welcome back to GhostBox Radio.
Oh, thanks for having me, Greg. I've been looking forward to this for a while.
And I appreciate it. We were supposed to do an episode, pre-recorded this last week, but as many know about my cat and stuff, it became it became just very tough, and we won't get into all the reasons for it. So, Tom, I very much appreciate you working with me and rescheduling and getting this done because it's very timely. I'm sure a lot of people want some of your time because of what's been going on. And let's just start with the elephant in the room. The fact that there are all of these drones being seen everywhere. And, and before I let you answer, I got to say, Friday night when we did the show, more and more people were saying in different suburbs around the Twin Cities in Minnesota, Maple Grove, St. Michael, Anoka, all these places, they said that they were seeing them. First of all, I'd love your take on what's been going on around here.
Wow. That's a really complex subject because there's a whole lot of stuff going on. Number one, I absolutely believe that the government is trying to mitigate a lot of what's going on by sending up drones themselves. So we have the government adding drones to whatever may be there. When you look at some of the drones, it's obvious that they're drones. You can hear them, and they only fly around for a little while, and then quite frequently they're called back to home for a recharge. Then there's the type that can fly all night long. I don't know what kind those are, but if they're great big ones, they could also be government.
Right.
Then there may be the type that look like glowing orbs.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I don't think that we have the technology for yet. But if we do have that technology, the government isn't going to fly that over major populations.
Right.
Unless it's just a quick zoom in and zoom out, and that's the end of it. They aren't going to loiter because they don't want to show. So it leaves, what are they then? Back when I was writing my very first book, I had an opportunity to see 9 glowing orbs, UFOs.
Okay.
And it didn't occur to me at the time, and actually only occurred to me in the past couple of weeks when these things are being reported in the air, is that what I saw lends itself to what's actually being seen now. And it may have been some prelude. Not only was I seeing those, I also saw a portal open in the sky and some huge white, long, cylindrical thing go flying out of the center of it and disappear over the horizon in probably definitely less than 2 seconds. It was booking.
Wow.
And this thing I saw was overhead. So you can imagine what kind of speed it was going to completely disappear by getting small and gone in less than 2 seconds. It must have really been going. And then the third one I saw was a glowing ball of light that charged my car and made some maneuver as it was approaching and skipped off the windshield.
Oh,
well, that was 3 things that I saw, all more or less relating to what the heck is actually in the sky now. These things, I can guarantee you, weren't drones. And I don't know exactly what they were, but they sure as hell weren't government craft either. Right. So now we have this scenario where balls of light, glowing orbs, are flying all over the place, stay up there for however long they want, disappear and appear somewhere else. They have technology that we are not likely to have at this point. So I think that what is in the sky is generally created by us to hide the fact that the orbs are doing whatever they're doing again.
So do you think then that if I'm understanding you correctly, perhaps the orbs came first and the drones are coming up to kind of camouflage the fact that they are there?
That is absolutely a possibility. And I think it's probably likely at this point.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The government was probably tipped off that these orbs are going to be showing themselves for long periods of time. And it would behoove them to get a bunch of stuff up in the air and confuse everyone.
Which is exactly what's happening, because
Yeah.
to your point, people are seeing everything that you've described. And as we had talked about in the show Friday, we think it's highly unlikely that something of extraterrestrial origin is going to have blinking safety lights on it, like some of the drones, right? I mean, that seems to be
Absolutely
a foregone conclusion, right? Yeah.
Now they certainly have the capability, and it has been seen on multiple occasions where something would appear in the sky, look like an airplane, have blinking lights, and then take off at ridiculous speeds. That's possible, but it's not seen all that often.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so the thing with the blinking lights, those are actual U.S. and possibly even hobbyist drones, but the hobbyist drones are pretty easy to pick out. The U.S. drones are bigger, and the balls of light, well, they're just otherworldly.
What do you mean by hobbyist drones?
I have the possibility of ordering a drone off of Amazon, and I'll fly the thing up in the air,
possibly
in my neighborhood.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, because I think without knowing the technology and knowing how things have passed, because we've been seeing drones on the East Coast, we've been seeing them on the West Coast, we've seen them in the middle of the country, we've been seeing them everywhere. It seems to me, because someone had brought up on Friday the fact that there must be a lot of power, or in some cases may not be enough power to go across country. I never ever even suspected that. I always thought these drones are being located specifically in separate parts of the country to do this sort of, for lack of a better term, the old shock and awe sort of way of doing things.
Okay, if they are otherworldly, then these things can
that's different,
just disappear and show up somewhere else in the sky or 1,000 miles away, and it would be that quick.
I meant more government, though, because I guess I keep going back to, I don't doubt for a second that there is, to your point, some extraterrestrial origin to it, to some of these, but I do think the majority of what we are seeing, personally for me, seems to be more of Earth created, probably government created. That's my take, at least.
I go along with that, and those are the ones that are audible and visual and blinking lights and everything else, and you can pick them out. The ones that are glowing spheres, well, not so much.
Very different. They're very different, and we've seen videos of both of them, and the ones I've seen of like the orb, the more of the orb looking, also seems to, it doesn't blink, it seems to pulse, like the lights seem to pulse on it.
Yep. That has been true in sightings since the 1970s, 1960s, when they first started showing up. Primarily at that point, they were mostly green and would just show up here, there, or anywhere. And then back in the 80s, they mostly switched over to orange and red. And then back around 2011, they showed themselves as glowing fireballs. And they had the capability of just disappearing, showing up somewhere else, pulsating, and doing all the things you just mentioned.
Incredible. Do you think that that might indicate of different origin for some of these, from outside of the Earth, extraterrestrial?
By other origins, what do you mean?
So, there's obviously, different countries around Earth that do things a little bit different. There maybe planes look different to a certain extent. I mean, ultimately it's still there, but just like they're different types of crafts specifically, opposed to, and maybe from different origin instead of being all from the same, different part of the universe or whatever.
Okay. I thought that's what you meant. I had to make sure. It certainly is possible that they are different origins, different civilizations. It's possible that's true, or it's just possible that someone who's trying to make their presence known or research the land under it, and most likely they are all from the same type of thing, and they can change their appearance however they think that is necessary.
Understood. Why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's take our first break. When we come back, I want to talk about, does this fit into the understanding of alien ascension or alien disclosure? There's a lot to talk about here, and I can't wait to get to it. Tom Conwell is our guest. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. I love historic tours of Minneapolis and seeing everything it has to offer. But if you know me, I like to include a little spooky in my tours, which is why I found the perfect combination. Minneapolis Trolley Tours does this amazing candlelight ghost tour that you have to check out. It's an extremely immersive experience. It's a trolley trip that starts out at a haunted mansion, traveling around Minneapolis locations exposing ghost stories that the public and business owners would rather left untold. Then a tour of the aforementioned haunted mansion where ghosts of past residents from the 1800s reside, plus a lot of surprises to discover. Next, experience Gertrude's After Hours. Did I mention Gertrude is the mansion's most famous ghost? Maybe she'll show up. And you finish up the tour at Gertrude's Lounge in the haunted basement of the mansion with refreshments and Q&A. The trolleys are climate controlled and the mansion is restored to perfection. Check out MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for more information. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. What you wear is important. It should be fun, creative, and expressive of your own personality. At Grady Gear Company, we believe that clothing is more than just fabric and threads. It's a form of self-expression and a way to stand out from the crowd. Grady Gear is more than just a clothing brand. We're a community. We're here to inspire and motivate you to embrace your true self. We are a locally owned small business who do custom clothing orders too. Find us at GradyGearCompany.com. Have you ever met someone who not only can help you on a deep spiritual level, but also potentially change your life? Refined Divine is an extremely gifted psychic medium who travels the nation and lives right here in the Midwest. And she offers mediumship, mentorship, house and business parties, energy healing, palm readings, and so much more. Refined Divine has helped thousands, and she can help you.
Hi, this is Psychic Medium Deb. I cannot wait to hear from you. You can go to refineddivinepsychic.com.
Join us on Thursday, March 20th for a special live 2-hour GhostBox Radio event starting at the special time of 9 p.m. Travis Walton was abducted by aliens November 5th, 1975, and wrote about his experience in his book, The Walton Experience.
I felt like I was dying, and this is what really fueled the panic when I finally laid eyes on these creatures. They came around the table, and the three of them were coming towards me, and I just grabbed something from behind me and started swinging it at them.
The book was later made into the 1993 film Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton, along with Jennifer Stein, director of the film, Travis Walton the Movie, will join me for this special 2-hour live interview along with questions from callers. Join us for the live Travis Walton GhostBox Radio 2-hour special, Thursday, March 20th at the special time of 9 p.m. And welcome back to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. My name is Greg Bakun. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday evening as we are very topical tonight. It's when normally when we're doing the show, we're talking about ghosts, we're talking about hypotheticals with aliens or Bigfoot or whatever else, but rarely do we have the opportunity to talk about stuff that is like truly is on everyone's mind here. And I brought in today author Tom Conwell, and you can find his books. You can go over to Amazon actually and find them under his name, Thomas W. Conwell. And it's important that you do that because looking under Tom Conwell on Amazon for books doesn't yield the responses that you want. But go check out the books. Follow him as an author on Amazon. And Tom, do you have a site that you want people to go to as well, or you're just social media, or what are you?
Yeah, that's mostly social media. The best place to contact me is on Facebook, and my Facebook address is tom.conwell.3.
Okay. There we go. Please do that. Please follow and please support. Get the books, read. I mean, as you're going to hear tonight, as you heard in the first segment, Tom has some incredible insight. And this isn't something that is a passing hobby for Tom. You're going to read stuff and you're going to rethink some things. I can guarantee that. Tom, we were just talking about the drones in the first segment. One of the things that, so many people talk about. I had Nancy Thames on a while back, and had you on, talked about like Ascension and the idea of like when aliens they become known to all of us, and that there is this moment of, we kind of follow suit and we understand and we get it. Do you think something like this is like the drones, I should say, is some kind of possible, like, just a precursor to what's to come? Do you think that there's anything to that? Do you think this is just maybe something just very random?
I think there's a remote connection. And by remote, let me say that the act of ascension is the population matching the frequency vibration of the earth itself. And by virtue of the fact that there are ETs around, it will have some minor effect in you becoming more aware of things.
Sure.
That's the remote connection. However, at the same time, in order for ET to try to determine whether we have reached any particular level of ascension, they fly over and they're able to determine what the ascension level, what the frequency vibration is of all the people there. Generally, is it being raised? Is it being raised enough? Are they ready for the next step? That's when they will cause intervening events, such as this.
Is the vibration that they want, is it a vibration of like a higher vibration of love, or do they come in when it's a lower vibration of we need help?
Well, not likely. I think they all knew that we were going to vibrate higher in the future. They all knew that. Mm-hmm. So they started coming around in order to get us to be aware that once we start to vibrate higher, and that is inevitable, once we start to vibrate higher, then we should be open to other stuff. That happens in two different directions. Number one, we see UFOs, and we are aware that, how are they able to just disappear? How are they able to get here from ridiculous distances? Well, that's because they're able to access other dimensions. And by accessing other dimensions, they do that by raising, lowering frequencies. So there is a tie-in, okay?
Yep.
It is remote, but the more vibration that we're able to cause ourselves, the higher vibration, I should say, then they become more important. So they both tie into each other.
I'm going to ask a question I asked Nancy Thames. She didn't understand my question. And I'm going to try to say it and see if it makes sense to you, because this keeps coming back to my mind a lot. And, as far as like, hearing about stuff maybe 2,000 years ago, and somewhat you're talking about that vibration, about people, you kind of getting to the point of understanding, right? Back 2,000 years ago, whatever, people would take things very differently of what things are. And what if there's certain people who believed that heard about that there'll eventually be an ascension, and it kind of builds around a religion, and that becomes over time what people call the rapture. And, do you think that there's any possibility that the people who, have been following and understanding that someday there might be a rapture is actually, in fact, from, long time ago, some understanding that there'd be, higher vibrating entities coming to Earth and kind of being there for everybody, and that has kind of mutated, the understanding of that have mutated throughout the years and became, first of all, part of religion for some, and then ultimately became like the idea of what the rapture is.
Wow, that you tied in two things I didn't expect you to tie in. As far as us raising our frequency, that was already in the books years and years and years ago, thousands of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it would happen very, very slowly, and they would allow it to happen. Now, as far as the rapture goes, that may have been some remote reference that was allowed to get put into writings and whatever else to describe a final ascension.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that they're the same.
No, it's just an interesting theory, because we know that over time things get almost not rewritten per se, but understood differently than the original intention. It's like, especially we know back in the time of early Bible, that stuff like that was kind of tribal knowledge passed on vocally from people to people, not written down. Things change over time. So it's always been on back my mind. And when I talked to Nancy about it, and she was just kind of like not really understanding, I thought I'd drop it. But when you're talking about it, to me, that correlation is very interesting. And I'm not saying that it's, apples for apples what it is, but I like, the idea of like perhaps extraterrestrials had told somebody back 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years ago what's going to happen, which makes sense with what you're saying about vibration. Our vibration rising has taken, thousands upon thousands of years. It's slow. To me personally, it kind of fits in as an interesting theory at the very least. Don't worry, I'm not going to go around as like this is a fact, but I think it's an interesting theory.
There is a tie-in. It isn't a direct tie-in, and it probably resulted from a discussion and thinking, and maybe I'm wrong in saying this, in interpreting that a rise in everyone's vibration is going to cause exactly what you mentioned, a rapture where everyone is going to be taken up into the sky, and it's not going to be like that. I don't believe.
Yeah,
it's going to be very subtle, and some people are going to just zoom into another dimension, and other people are going to do so a whole lot slower.
Yeah.
And could that be a rapture-like event? Absolutely could be.
Yeah.
So that's probably why, at least in your own mind, the two events are being put together.
Yeah.
Even though there may not be a direct correlation, it may be that this rapture-like event is going to be something similar to a raise in vibration.
Do you think we are close to that?
Yes. Yeah.
And with that, in my mind, another question that immediately comes, because we talk about the idea of disclosure, and maybe you mean disclosure in a different way than I'm interpreting it. And to me, disclosure is more of a human announcement of that, like government says that they exist. Do you look at disclosure as more of the fact that they become more visible, and that's disclosure on its own?
Well, it is, and it's a very slow disclosure.
Yeah.
And I believe that they are creating these events so that we get acclimated to the fact that we aren't alone, and that's happening very slowly. And as a matter of fact, this may be part of their disclosure. Get people talking about it, and other people to consider, maybe there's something there, possibly. And then the next event happens, and a whole lot more people jump on the bandwagon. But I've come across a whole lot of people who are very resistant to the idea that we are alone. The whole lot, and probably a 50-50 kind of thing. When I start talking about stuff on Facebook specifically, I'll get some people who say, no, this is not possible. And of course, others are right on the bandwagon, ready to go. And the best way that I can think of to get everyone acclimated is to do it slowly in events such as this.
It's interesting. I was talking to somebody recently about the idea that, people who refuse to accept that we could possibly that we're not alone in the universe. And I always thought, and maybe I'm being harsh, I always think that the people who refuse to entertain the idea that we're not alone are people, there's an arrogance, a human arrogance that like, oh, well, there can't be, if I don't see it, therefore it must not exist. And it's like the vast size of the universe. How is it possible that we couldn't, we can't be alone? It just cannot be.
We're definitely not alone. And I think people are getting to the point where they rather large percentages saying, oh, sure, there's civilizations out there, but the distances make it impossible for them to be here, until we realize that they may very well have a million years on us and have been able to invent things that we haven't even dreamed of yet. That's where I think that people are starting to come around, and that's when these ships, or whatever they are, showing us their technology. And the best way to say that is that since they are so advanced and they show us a little bit, more and more people come around each time they show it. And that's what they're trying to do now, basically.
Before we head off to break, if the way that you're talking about it, and with the idea that the government drones that we're seeing is kind of to cover up the extraterrestrial drones, is that a huge detriment to the plans of the extraterrestrials trying to kind of slowly acclimate us to understanding of their existence?
I don't think it's a detriment. I think it's just to slow it down.
Yeah.
If they were ready to go 100% and everybody was charging in that direction, then the government would have a real problem with trying to meet the questions that are going to be asked when they show up. Why have you been hiding this for so long? Oh, you have technology that'll save us all thousands of dollars every year with energy, with medical. Medical is a big one. You have a technology to heal my wife and heal my grandma, and you held it back. You can imagine the anger involved there. So it's just they're trying to slow things down and to stretch it out so that they don't have to answer questions, so that in maybe 20 or 30 years, when they've all gotten older and long since retired, they don't have to answer the questions anymore.
Very, very possible. Let's go ahead. Let's do this. Let's take our next break. When we come back, we're going to continue talking about Ascension. I have some more questions on that. We're going to touch very little on the hearings that happened a couple weeks back. Didn't seem like a whole lot was going on there. We have Tom Conwell with us tonight. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950.
Reach your highest level of consciousness and well-being with MetamorphosisConnections.com. MetamorphosisConnections.com is an online directory of the best holistic and metaphysical practitioners to help you make your most informed choices. You can search MetamorphosisConnections.com for classes, events, wellness and life coaches, plus metaphysical products and shops. You can also search for a wide array of healers from all modalities, including EFT, sound healing, energy healing, light therapy, ancestral healing, shamanic healing, reflexology, past life regressions, hypnotherapy, yoga, and more. And if you're not sure where to start, the search feature on MetamorphosisConnections.com is tailored to help both those who know what they are looking for and those who are just starting. Come explore the possibilities for your higher self by visiting MetamorphosisConnections.com. Their experienced practitioners can guide both beginners and those that are already on their spiritual journey. That's MetamorphosisConnection.com, your link to direct you on your spiritual transformation.
Greg Bakun here. Like many of you, I still collect physical books, and not just any books, but books about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. I go to Megas Books and Herbs, located in the Arts District of Minneapolis, but books are only part of it. Megas Books and Herbs offers crystals, jewelry, herbs, oils, and consultations on how to use this stuff. Check out their in-store classes and events too. This place has everything to expand your horizons. Located at 1848 Central Avenue, Minneapolis, or visit megasbooks.com.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Recently, I had a large order of custom designed t-shirts that needed to be turned around in a hurry. I knew exactly who to call. Grady Gear Company. Grady Gear Company is a local company that handles large and small custom clothing and apparel orders. I had a lot of questions from color, shirt quality, and what sizes we needed. Grady Gear Company was great to work with. They got us what we needed on time, and now everybody's looking great around the station in their new gear. Start your order at GradyGearCo.com.
Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Join us on Thursday, March 20th for a special live 2-hour GhostBox Radio event starting at the special time of 9 p.m. Travis Walton was abducted by aliens November 5th, 1975, and wrote about his experience in his book, The Walton Experience.
I felt like I was dying, and this is what really fueled the panic when I finally laid eyes on these creatures. They came around the table, and the three of them were coming towards me, and I just grabbed something from behind me and started swinging it at them.
The book was later made into the 1993 film Fire in the Sky. Travis Walton, along with Jennifer Stein, director of the film, Travis Walton the Movie, will join me for this special 2-hour live interview along with questions from callers. Join us for the live Travis Walton GhostBox Radio 2-hour special, Thursday, March 20th at the special time of 9 p.m. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We're going to have on author Marie Cisneros. She's going to come on, and we're going to be talking about her 2 books, Haunted Muskegon and Haunted Newaygo County. It's going to be a great conversation. We have not had her on before. She's extraordinarily talented writer. I'm looking forward to the conversation. We hope you join us. And also, I just want to let folks know this is our last week of new programming for 2024. The next 2 weeks, starting on the 23rd, we're going to be running best of episodes of GhostBox Radio. So please, a lot of interviews that you probably haven't heard in a long time, but they're still very interesting. Please join us for that, and we'll be back with new episodes on January 6th. Our guest today is Tom Conwell, author, and we've been talking about all sorts of alien things, very timely. I think there's a lot of good things coming out of this conversation tonight. Tom, we've been talking the last segment about Ascension, and I feel like that I want to backtrack a little bit here, and I just want to ask, what is the point of Ascension?
I don't know that we can answer that.
Yeah.
Most of the extraterrestrial civilizations are already existing within a five dimension, perhaps even 7, 9, 11 dimensional realm. And I think it's for us to improve ourselves and actually get ourselves there. Once we have the upper dimensional realm, then life expectancy goes way up. And I think that's just part of a natural progression of events.
Do you think that we are just one in a number of planets over time itself? Like you talk about these other races that they've already achieved this, but they must have at some point been where we were, and that they came to a point that other races came to them and lifted them, right? I mean, that seems to be kind of a smart way of thinking about just kind of evolution, perhaps.
That makes absolute sense. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of how they ascended. However, in talking with a whole lot of different people, Nancy Thames being one of them, she gave me the idea that we may be one of the very few civilizations that jumps to a higher dimension planet-wide instead of individual-wide. And that may be something really, really unique in the universe.
That would be really something. Is this in our lifetime?
I think yes. Once we get our complete discussion out of the way as far as whether extraterrestrials exist, them showing themselves to us, then I think it's Katie bar the door. I think that we're going to try to emulate them and just realize how easy it is, and we're going to be part of their group in a 5D world. And
presumably that unlocking the rest of our brain capacity. And
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Do you foresee, I'm just asking questions because I'm curious, and you may or may not have a thought on it. Do you foresee when it becomes more obvious what's going on? Do you see like any sort of, and I don't mean just our government, but governments around the world in general being being against this, or do you think once Ascension really takes place that we really don't have a choice?
I mean, as far as Ascension goes, I don't believe we're going to have a choice because it's going to be individual. Governments will pretty much cease to exist, and it's going to be via the person. But that will be after disclosure, and disclosure's coming, well, rapidly.
I always hear numbers like 2027. I've always heard that. Is that around right?
It's hard to know whether I'm correct on this, because I got this through a dream, but 2027 was a number handed to me. Now, is it right? I mean, it could be 2028 or it could be 2035. I honestly don't know.
Right. It's so interesting. And, the idea too, I mean, if you go back to something like the Benny and Barney Hill incident in the 60s, at the very, you could say Roswell, but also I could think of this as very much the infancy of us really trying to understand what's going on. Here we are, 62 years later, 63 years later, and that we might be on the cuspice of at least disclosure. That's just, it's exciting, but also it hurts my mind a little bit to try to get my head around that.
Yeah, it isn't easy. And not only were the Betty and Barney Hill a triggering incident to get everyone to discuss it, there's been a whole lot of people who have been abducted since then, a whole lot. And I would not be surprised that some of those who are ready to ascend right now have already been abducted and been triggered to open their minds. I think that's more likely than not.
And I mean, that seems to make sense. And I mean, in a sense, people like you and Nancy and others, you haven't ascended, but I think you have to be certainly in the throes of it, in a sense, because you're getting messages and you're getting, it's part of that. And has disclosure possibly been going on for 77 years, starting with, Roswell and just slowly showing and having these incidents and kind of an underground movement of people talking about abduction and stuff. Has that been part of the disclosure plan, perhaps? Yeah,
slow disclosure. There's no doubt about that. And that's all part of what they wanted to do to get us to ascend eventually. We have to be aware of them. We have to see how they are, how they exist, and what change in vibration our own internal frequencies can do for us. And we'll all realize that slowly. And as we do, then we'll take another step towards ascension.
Do you think films like, say, Independence Day, do you think that muddies the situation, or is it just like it's understood as being entertainment? But I mean, how the people perceive it, I think most people still, I think if you asked random people on the street, what do you think about if aliens came, I think there'd be a lot of people who'd be worried about it, like for control's sake and everything.
Yeah, the Independence Day, that's Hollywood doing their thing, but I don't doubt that was part of the scenario. Let's keep them scared, in other words, and so we can slow down this whole bandwagon.
Sure.
And once we slow it down enough, then let's wait until some of these people who have been involved with non-disclosure can retire, get out of the way, and not have to answer the tough questions.
Understood. That's interesting. I want to have you back on more to talk about Ascension and disclosure down the line. I want to kind of switch. We have just about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to kind of switch a little bit to the congressional hearings that happened a few weeks ago. To me, I mean, first of all, if you don't mind me saying so, when I originally asked you if you wanted to talk about them, you're just like, nah, there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah, really.
So what happened? I mean, it was what? Because I didn't even watch any of it. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I didn't really even realize that they were happening. They seemed so under the radar.
The reason I didn't want to talk about it is because, for the sake of your show, I would bore the heck out of all the people listening. Because there's just nothing to talk about. It's just ridiculous.
Right.
There were a couple of interesting comments made out of that. And as a matter of fact, I went back and listened to the whole thing again and took a couple of notes just so I could refresh my mind. There just is not a whole lot going on there.
Did anyone ever think it would be, though, quite frankly? You know what I mean? Because it seems like that people are like, ooh, what are we going to get out? We're not going to hear. I mean, these are just, I always think that these are just meant to just have us settle down a little bit. We're not going to get anything really out of them, I don't think.
No one's going to say anything that's going to be revelatory anywhere along the way. And the way, I think I mentioned this to you before, the way the questioning is designed, it's designed so that each person, each congressperson, asks their set of, banal questions that no one is really interested in knowing, and they can state to their constituents that they've done their due service and questioning the people in the know.
Yeah.
And there's only really one person on that stage that night who really knows and is not likely to be saying anything. That's Lou Elizondo.
Yeah.
And his comments were all basically, I'd rather not say, or these new beliefs are difficult to study. I can't tell you that except in a closed session. And it's just on and on. And it's just meant to say that this is the best that we can do for you now. More will come later. And I think the more is being precipitated by the sightings in the sky. This is really the more that's happening, and not the congressional questioning, because there's nothing going on there.
And the timing between the two, pretty incredible, really.
Oh yeah, it was interesting. One of the things I heard is right after this hearing, there was going to be a bunch of whistleblowers come forward.
Mm-hmm.
And these whistleblowers are going to have more to say. Well, they didn't have to have whistleblowers. They just showed a couple of things in the sky, and then everybody's talking. And that's all it took.
It really did. It really did. It's very interesting that you're getting, you're getting everyone weighing in on it. And I think the biggest fear I have is misinformation of fear and causing fear, using this to cause fear. And I don't mean by any necessarily government or anything, but people who are, posting their videos on whatever platform and saying that they're seeing things crash, or they're seeing it, take energy out of a nuclear power plant or something like that. I think it's just stuff we have to be, very cognizant of, very careful of, and not believe everything that's presented to us on social media.
Yep. The only thing real there that you should focus in on is the orbs and how they're flying and what they're trying to show. That's the key. everything. It's all nonsense. That's the key.
Once again, Tom, can you share with us how the best way to get a hold of you, please?
Yes. Facebook is my preferred method because it's so simple to approach me. My address is tom.conwell.3, and throw me a friend request. In that particular mode, I try to state some of the important things that are going on in the world at that time. and
I have to cut you off.
Sure.
We have to head off.
Okay.
So go find Tom and go buy his books. We'll be back tomorrow with Marie. Everyone, have a great night.